And we're live.
Hey, how's it going? All right. Welcome to another night of whiskey and lipstick. Because, it's stuff. Oh, hey, I've got everything going here. Don't need to listen to myself in stereo. That's just wrong. And now that I've wasted 20 seconds of your life, I am Theresa. I am the Canadian Whiskey Smith, and we are here with Sarra from Whiskey Crusaders and our extra special guest tonight, Erika from Rotgut Review. And we are going to be
special.
You are extra special.
Extra special.
Oh, I'm gonna let these people down.
No,
that's all right.
You're good. We're happy to have you.
We are. We're very happy. I'm excited because I was like, well, it would be nice to do an episode about getting into whiskey, right? And like best and the brightest of the bottom shelf. It just kind of felt catchy, but really it's about, getting into whiskey on a budget, because not everybody can afford to go and drop $50, $60, $100, $200 a bottle. But there's stuff out there that works in a lower price range, right? So you can get a lot of bang for your buck depending on where you're shopping, what you're buying, and all that kind of good stuff. And then I thought, well, geez, if we're going to do like a bottom shelf, highlights, Rotgut Review, aren't they like Ed started that channel to be dedicated to like the bottom shelf. So I'm like, Erika, she's a chick. I'm sure she wears lipstick. Not that Ed doesn't. I mean,
the only requirement, folks.
It's you gotta like whiskey and wear lipstick occasionally, maybe.
But, I mean, if those are your requirements, you don't necessarily have to be a chick, I guess.
No, you don't really. It's the channel is just whiskey and lipstick. So boys, we can help you pick your colors too. So
intro ladies' night, bring it.
Yeah. Or just when you're feeling like you want some fun, do something different.
Feeling frisky.
Yeah.
So, Erika, you've already got something in your glass over there. What are you sipping on?
I'm drinking two gingers because since we're talking about things like how to get into whiskey, this is one of the first things Ed had me try that made me be like, okay, I can probably do whiskey. Because like before him, literally the first thing whiskey I had was Old Thompson when I was like 19, and I drank it out of like a McDonald's cup while like canvassing for a concert, and it was disgusting. And I was like, oh, this will make me drunk, but I'll never want it again.
You can blame it on the McDonald's cup too, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all Old Thompson. Yeah, two gingers. It's nice. It's sweet. It's also like only $30, so or less than that even.
And it's Irish, right?
Yeah, it's probably a good guess. And nope, that is the wrong way. Still the wrong way. There we go.
There you go.
Which I find now that I've been into whiskey for a while, and Irish is actually a really good one to start off with somebody that's new, because of the lower proof, and it's often very buttery and well-rounded if you pick the right ones. But it's a good intro as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easily accessible. Like cheap Irish whiskey is easily accessible, but that can still be good. Like pretty much everybody's had Jameson. But like even if you get sick of it, there's other notes you can pick up in like other Jameson expressions or through other cheap Irish whiskeys.
Right. And seeing that, I'm not a fan really of the regular Jameson. It's very metallic to me. Mm-hmm. But the stout, which is still on the lower end, I think it's like 25 or something like that around us. It's a good pour in itself. Yeah. So I agree with, there's several different expressions out there to choose from.
And Donald's just saying, Powers Gold Label. I was just going to say, yeah, absolutely. I bought the Powers Gold Label because I'd heard good things. And I bought it specifically to make my Irish cream, because I make Irish cream every year at Christmas.
Yum.
And I was like, I'm going to try the Powers because people talk about it. And then I'm like tasting the Powers on. So I'm like, damn, there's good stuff. Yeah, I could sip on this. Yo.
Well, I went through, actually, I shouldn't say William mainly went through the plethora of sample bottles that we have from a lot of our streams with Matt and the Whiskey Crusaders. And I pulled out a handful of of some of the, lower good intro type bourbons because, I'm mainly bourbon. I'm actually starting here with a Buffalo Trace. I know it's kind of overrated. There's a lot of people that are like, thumbs down to Buffalo Trace and all of that. There's a lot of areas that it's still easy to get. It's like there's a plethora of it. And there's areas that there's not. But this is one of the first ones that I was drinking after I got into whiskey. And it's still one that I enjoy to this day, just as like, regular sipper type of. Guys can be gender neutral. That is very
it is.
true.
I like everybody's a guy.
Very true. And what are you drinking on over there?
Well, I'm going for like an ultra bottom shelf pick, but Alberta Premium, it's local for me. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of where I started too. Like when I started drinking, I knew I didn't like beer and I didn't care for wine much. And so I gravitated to highballs. And I could pick up a Mickey of, so like a 13-ounce bottle of Alberta Premium for like $10 and a bottle of Coke, and I could drink all weekend. And that was like, yay!
That's the dream.
that was value. And it's one that I've kind of not really. I don't do a whole lot with it now that I'm older, but I was going to, go to a bar every once in a while, and this is pre-COVID, and sometimes it's looking at what's on the shelf, and it's like, well, there's not much. It's a dive. They don't have a whiskey selection.
I know I can sip on that. Yeah.
But I'm like, okay. So I'd ask for my Jack Daniels, or I'd ask for Alberta Premium, and I like the flavor profile in the Alberta Premium a little bit better. Like it's got a decent kind of a caramel to it, and I'm like, yeah, it's almost creamy in some ways. I'm like, okay. Now I also have my grown-up version with the cask strength sitting to the side as well, which is
a little step up.
The evolution
step up, and it definitely was more than that, more than the Alberta Premium regular,
more than a bargain basement type of bottle.
Yeah. And then I figured, I was gifted a few years ago. I ended up with 2 bottles of Crown Royal. And I actually kind of want to try them side by side, just because a lot of people think of Crown Royal, especially Canadians who are just getting into whiskey. They're like, Crown Royal, put it on a shelf. And I'm like, put it on a shelf and forget it. But that's just me. So I thought, well, I'll try it next to, so I got my Crown Royal, I got my Alberta Premium, and like on the nose, the Alberta Premium has a little bit more going on. Like it's got a little bit more of a caramel aroma. The Crown Royal kind of smells sour.
Yeah, like William said, it's one of the best-selling whiskeys in Texas. Crown Royal. Everybody's all about the Crown Royal, and to each their own. To me, it's metallic and kind of this blah. It's just the regular base Crown Royal.
It's
like
very
we've had some of the, other more premium, I guess, higher crowns, and they're a little bit better.
I think Crown's is a way to get somebody like started on brown liquor in general, because like like if you drink vodka, it's like just a step above vodka. You're like, okay, it's not entirely neutral. There's something else there. But yeah, it's baby steps. It's like when a baby holds the coffee table. That's what Crown Royal is.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
And I mean, my start was Basil Hayden, and I wouldn't necessarily call that a bargain bottle. I think it's $40 or $50 around here. It's been a long time since I've actually been in a liquor store, to be honest with you. Thanks, Rona. But I wouldn't consider that a budget bottle, and I also don't have any in my house, so we've moved on from that.
But I think Basil's is like, it's like at every bar. So even if you can't buy your own bottle, you can go to like any bar, they have one, and you can try it out to get into whiskey.
And along that lines, the same, just the Weller Special Reserve. It's in a lot of bars around here. And it's one of those, if there's nothing else, if it's like Theresa was saying, a dive bar, and you're just like, they usually always have Weller, just a regular special reserve, which isn't a bad pour at all for a budget bottle. So, and that, I don't know what it's running now with, how crazy the prices have gotten, but.
Oh, and it depends on the market so much too. Like, and that's why we didn't really say a specific price. Oh, are you reading comments there? There's some good ones. Yeah, it's so
classic.
Yeah,
it seems appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like budget is so subjective and it's so regional specific. So it's like, okay, well, what can you get into that's halfway decent, that you can get some decent flavor from it. And if you do find something, like I've got my bottle of Crown Royal here, that it's maybe something that you buy or somebody buys for you, and you're like, I really would never drink this. Throw it into cocktails or cook with it. Like, there are always some things that, at least when you're trying out some of those less expensive bottles, if you really don't like it,
mix them with some Coke or something.
Mix them with some Coke. Throw it into some eggnog, and we were talking about eggnog before. It's that season, right?
Holiday season. Mix your whiskey.
There you go.
Mix your whiskey.
Hot toddies.
Yeah, there you go. And it doesn't. You don't have to be sick to have a hot toddy, guys.
Exactly.
No, you don't.
So, another one that we picked out here that's it's a classic one for me, and it's always one that I would reach for if it was available for me. Is just Larceny. I think it's got more going on in the glass than, say, your Weller Special Reserve or whatnot, but I think it's a good step into a whiskey for a decent price.
Yeah. I'm semi-cheating because we were talking about like things you can find at any bar. Like, I think Standard Makers is a great product. I don't have the standard one though, because I refuse to buy new things. I'm just letting Eddie bring things into the apartment. But like, yeah, you can find Makers at any bar, and like it's sweet, and it's like very much like two-dimensional, but like that cherry note I think is good to get any drinker hooked.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And
I'm pulling up my 101.
That's a that wheated mash bill, just like with the Larceny here, it's a little bit sweeter to me. That wheat it just brings out the sweetness just a little bit more, and sometimes that helps some people get over that alcohol burn.
Yeah,
the sweetness. Theresa with the Wild Turkey 101. That is that's a good one as well. Wild Turkey makes a lot of good products, though.
I like their stuff. I
like their stuff as well. You're talking about Lot 40 in the chat.
It's really good. And actually, the Lot 40 cast strength, the last year's edition that they released, is going to be released down in the U.S. starting shortly.
Yeah, so. Donald said something about that too.
Yeah.
We call Donald's our Irish Yoda. So he's got a lot of intel for us on stuff that's coming from Canada too.
Like a spy.
Yes. they always keep all their good stuff for themselves.
Right.
So you can
just
send
them down your crown and be like, all the good stuff.
Sorry?
We'll see if it makes it all the way down to Texas.
No. I feel like you'll get it before we do in Wisconsin. So
really?
Yeah, Wisconsin does not get it a lot. It all
goes practically across the street from Mississauga.
You're bypassing us and going to the better Midwest state. Better as in it's bigger. I don't care for the state of Illinois, but Chicago's bigger than anything we have going on here.
Coco's drinking some Wild Turkey 101 too.
I was just going to say, yeah.
For some reason it disappears very quickly. It's an easy one to drink.
It is, and it's got a lot going on. Like that was something else that when I was first getting into whiskey, is I took a few courses, like found some professional developments type stuff, some low level, a little bit more beyond just the enthusiast, because I'm more than just an enthusiast with it. But I got a nice little logbook so that I could make notes, and I could actually, it helped me focus things. So even though I was trying stuff that maybe was, less expensive, it was still forcing me to think about what it is that I'm drinking. And it made it easier then, as I started to get into better and better stuff, to be able to understand why something might be priced a little bit more and why it might have a little bit more value associated with it from a price point.
Yep.
But
and it helps you keep track of the things that you like and you don't like, just in case,
yeah.
You're going out to the store and you're like, oh wait, have I tried this? This looks like a really good deal, or
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to like keep track of the flavor profiles you're into, because like not all Scotch is the same, not all bourbon is the same, not all Canadian's the same. Like you can pick up different notes and different things, and it's important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why pay extra for the stuff you don't like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are they both going for the bacon?
Yes, they're both. So I'm trying to focus on what Ed wrote.
He doesn't have the sound down, so he's just saying whatever.
He's just like random.
Well, like what Steve said, not like you're any more likely to make an applicable comment if you were actually listening or watching.
That's accurate. Yeah.
So
yeah. That's the ultimate way to get whiskey on a budget, is just convince someone who works at a liquor store to fall in love with you. You just got to trick them.
See, you guys have that down. I need to start going to more liquor stores or finding single guys who work at liquor stores.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't have either of those. I have Matt though.
Oh,
I have a really good.
Right, you have Matt.
A lot of whiskey.
Oh, sorry. Will works in some sort of industry. That's what it is. Okay.
There are multiple ways to access the industry.
Right.
That's true.
He hasn't worked since Rona, but when he was working, he would only bring home wine. And I don't drink wine. So we've got wine back in the closet that hasn't been touched. I don't even know how long. So somebody's getting wine for Christmas this year. He says,
I love getting wine.
Wine is so good.
He says wine is so good, but he doesn't drink it.
Distilled wine. Now, distilled wine is then you're getting somewhere. Like we actually have a local distillery that is doing some grappas and brandies and all that kind of good stuff. And I'm like, all right, that I'm kind of feeling that. That's good.
So my glass is empty, so I'm pouring another one.
What are you gonna pour?
I've got some Elijah Craig here.
Oh, everybody loves Elijah Craig.
Elijah Craig, they put out some good stuff. This is a small batch. I think that's what this. Okay, so this is Matt's handwriting. So
you'll never know.
There might be some that I might not even know what I'm drinking.
Right.
But yeah, Elijah Craig, it's a pretty well liked bourbon. They put out some pretty good stuff. When you get up into the higher end stuff, your barrel picks and stuff like that, it obviously gets better. But I think the base Elijah Craig is pretty darn good.
Well, I think even for me in my market, we can get the Elijah Craigs for around $45 or $50, which, I mean, it might sound like a lot, but really in terms of what we're paying for a better bourbon, like I would, if I was buying Booker's locally, I'm spending $80 or $90 on Booker's. I love Booker's, and I'll find a way to make that work from time to time when I want to buy one. But the Elijah Craig I can pick up for like 45, $50.
So
and
just the small batch Elijah Craig around us is about $25-$26. So it's not that bad. And I mean, even getting up, we have a barrel pick from one of the local stores around here, and I think it was in the 30s, so it wasn't even that bad. And it's a good pour.
Yeah.
A good all around bourbon for not a bad price.
Yeah.
I do love like barrel picks or store picks from very common whiskey brands, because it lets you like really isolate those notes that you like in the whiskey, like in the base whiskey.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. If I can get my hands on a barrel pick of, something that I know I like to begin with, I'm more likely going to just pick it up without even thinking twice about it. Like the Elijah Craig. Especially if it's a trusted liquor store. Like the one that we have, it came from our local liquor store, Mirage, that we support. It's a mom and pop family owned shop. And he's got a good set of people that pick for him. We've done a pick with them through them for what was it? Sagamore. We did a Sagamore pick there. And if you know that the previous picks that you've gotten from them are good, by all means,
then exactly.
Why not spend the extra couple bucks and get that pick? So worth it. Yeah. But since we're talking budget here, I'm gonna stick with my small batch and not be like Erika and cheat.
Well, but sort of too, that kind of leads into one of the other things that I think I said to, get everybody sort of thinking about. And that is, one of the things was making friends with people who like whiskey.
That is
it's good to make friends with people who like whiskey, because then, occasionally they send you things like this, or you can trade for stuff like this. And I don't even want to see Eric. Like I know Sarah, you guys have a ton. Erika, you guys probably have sample bottles lying all over the place too.
There is like a whole bottom shelf, and like my arm hurts, so I'm not going to go all the way down there. But the width of this shelf, just sample bottles down below.
So it's good to make friends. What's your?
Can you see behind the cat here?
The cat is hiding.
See all of those bottles over there?
Yeah.
That's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's like 2 weeks of live streams.
Yeah.
And I keep telling Ed we need to like go through some of these samples, and he's just like, we got other stuff for some reason.
I keep on saying the same thing to William, but then there's a lot of them that we'll do on like a live stream that Matt wants to do a review on at some point. And with the amount of whiskey that Matt has, who knows when we're going to get to it? It's like, so how long do we hold on to these samples?
Right.
And then we have a box full of empties that need to go back to him for refills. So, but then I have the ones that are hidden in my liquor cabinet that are special that aren't going to be drink, but for special occasions, like Teeling 24 or, the birthday 2020 birthday bourbon. I'm going to drink that on my birthday, which is Friday.
Happy upcoming birthday.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
So I've got a Macallan cask strength that is a Juarez sherry finished. So essentially PX.
I don't think that's a budget.
No. Free to me.
There you go.
Right? So I mean,
free is the best budget you can get.
Free is the best budget you can get. So I mean, go to stores. Like that was one of the things, and I know that the COVID world just makes things hard, and it's making things harder than it needs to be, because it would be nice to be able to say, hey, just go to your local store, and they're probably sampling things out. Yeah. These days, they probably aren't. They probably aren't even doing, events where you could go. Like I had place in town where I could go, and their standard whiskey tasting events were $25 to $50-ish dollars. You'd get anywhere from 6 to 8 half-ounce samples, and you'd sit around and drink whiskey, eat cheese, and talk about what it is that you're going, what you're tasting.
Right.
And it was one of the best ways to be able to actually figure out what do I want without having to drop a whole lot of money. Because, you know, like and if you go enough and you're enthusiastic enough, sometimes you end up getting those, hey, so we didn't sell out this event and we've got this spot and we kind of thought that maybe you'd be interested.
Yep.
You just have to show up. And it's like, okay, I'll just show up.
Twist my arm, right?
Twist my rubber arm. And that goes back again to making friends with the people, you know, with whiskey people, whether it's at a store or whether it's at the local whiskey bar. If you're lucky enough to have a really good whiskey bar, right?
Right. William also says, and check to see if there's any local distilleries too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, with Rona, they're not doing as much as they used to, but things are kind of opening up some places. And, you know, you might be able to get a mini tour or just a tasting flight and see, you know, if that's something that you're interested in. Also, along those lines of making friends, if you've got a good liquor store, make friends with your liquor store people. Because I know, like Mirage, they have, at any given time, they have a bunch of bottles that are open that they will pour you a sample of, you know, if you ask. And sometimes he might not have it open, but you want to try it because you might buy it. Let me go ahead and, you know, open one of these and have it as a sample bottle. Yeah. So, you know,
and
there's a lot of ways to.
Yeah. Well, and there's also, it's, when I was 20 and getting into drinking, it was, I want to be able to drink for the weekend because we're all sitting around a campfire out in the middle of nowhere and they're drinking beer. So I want to have something, right? In which case, yeah, I'm taking a $10 Mickey and a, 2-liter of Coke or whatever, right? But when you're actually getting into it to explore and experiment and try, you're typically not going through a bottle in a weekend.
Right.
So, when you think about it from that perspective, it's like, okay, so I'm going to maybe spend, you can look at starting to spend a little bit more into that $40 or $50 or $60, and that bottle's going to last you a year.
Right.
Especially if you've got a few others lying around that you can dip into on the day-to-day, like the Wild Turkey 101. Like Kilco says, it's a straight up, it is so easy to just sip on. And I mean, even for me, I think I can get that on sale when, under $30.
Right. Well, and one of the things that we did in our house, because, we are on a budget, especially these days, we have a kid that we have to feed that's still growing. So, I mean, we have to budget stuff. So we do have a system in place where whiskeys that are $30 and under, you can drink those every day. Mm-hmm. Things that are, bourbons, for instance, $38 and up or $40 and up. I forget what numbers they are. You drink those on the weekends, and the same with the scotches. There's a set price point. I can drink this every day. Like William and his teachers, that's his, daily drinker. That's a budget bottle that satisfies what he needs to get through to the weekend, to get to his higher, costly bottles, so that you don't go through them as fast. And that also makes it so that you can add more. You're not spending money on this same bottle every other week because that's the only thing you drink. It saves you a little bit more money to buy some new bottles to try out and grow your collection. So, if you're trying to get it on a budget, there's ways to do it. There's ways to grow a collection on a budget, because we did. I mean, when I started drinking whiskey, William was getting a handle of Old Granddad like every 2 weeks, and that's what he would drink because he wasn't into the heat and stuff at that point. Yeah. And we you got to budget it in, find the things that you like and stick with them and add to it slowly.
And there's no shame.
Huh?
So, go ahead, Erika. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you got to when you go to the store, just approach it as like, are you buying for the experience of, like you guys have been saying, for the weekend, or like, is this going to be a long-term thing? Like, you know, and friends or family come over. Not that people are really coming over to visit in the times
Right.
of, like, you can offer it to them, or is this just something where it's like, I'm bored. I can experiment with this in cocktails. I can experiment with this in like things other than cocktails. I don't know.
Blend it with some other budgets to see,
Right.
you know. Yeah, we have that too. We have our bottles that are for specialer occasions that are in, you know, 150 whatever bottles that we're not going to drink that every weekend.
Right.
Like
Not
the regular.
mixing
No. So, I mean, yeah, Kilco, there is a thing called a budget.
Something else that I would say too is that cast strength is something that, like, I just like to drink it, and I'll play around a little bit with my cast strength.
Yeah.
But I'm just sipping it. But I mean, theoretically, the whole, you know, part of the thing behind doing a cast strength whiskey is that you can put it on ice, or you can
Drop some water in
it
it.
to proof it down to where you like it.
Right.
And then, you know, your bottle that was, you know, $70 or $80 for a bottle, because you're proofing it as you go, you actually get like almost
More
20 to 30% more mileage from the bottle, because you don't need to pour as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that when you're looking at, it's like, okay, well, maybe you want to spend $50 on a cast strength and play around with it at home.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. It's also it's gonna stand up better in your cocktails too. So
that is true. We've proven that on another episode. Yeah, and you know, if you're like, for instance, when William was first getting into peat and whatnot, we didn't have it budgeted in to buy the $60, $70, $80 bottles of peated scotch. So he had a bottle of Peat Monster. He blended that thing into just about everything, and it made it peated. And, you know, it worked for him. It made that bottle last. It made him change up the other whiskeys that he had to experiment with. And, you know, it gave him that peated experience without having to buy a bunch of different $60, $70, $80 bottles. So, you know, Peat Monster apparently goes a long way with just a drop or two. I don't know. I don't like it, but, you know, you got a compass box there. I can see it.
I got a compass box. So I've got my Spaniard, and I picked this up in the US when because it was released when I happened to be in Texas. It actually was in that market about 2 months before it hit my local market. So I was like, yay, got something ahead of the game. But I think it was less than my Booker's, because I bought the Booker's down there as well. I think I paid $60 or $65 for the Booker's in Texas. Mm-hmm, and I think this was probably around 50-ish. And I think even up in Canada, it goes for under 80, or maybe around 80. I'd have to look up the numbers. But this is the Compass Box Spaniard and blended malt. So if we've talked a lot about Canadian and bourbon, and scotches across the board tend to be more expensive. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is import taxes and tariffs. It's just, there's no way around it. And for the US, I'm sorry, but you guys, I know that your Scotch prices are going up because of recent tariffs. So it's getting expensive. But if you can find a blended malt or a blended Scotch, so your blended Scotches are like, most of your Johnny Walkers are going to be blended Scotches, which have some grain whiskey in them. My roommate's got one upstairs. It's an Adelphi blended Scotch. So but it's mostly malt, and I can pick it up for, it's $30, $35, and it drinks more like a malt than like a blended Scotch. And so anyway, so this is my into the Scotches a little bit on a bit of a budget. Find those independent bottlers. Find the blends.
I can totally beat that.
Okay.
You can beat
If you're
that.
gonna switch over to Scotch real fast.
Okay.
All right.
So if you have Kirkland in the area, if you can get Kirkland, this bad boy, Kirkland 12-year-old blended Scotch whiskey, like what, 30, $35 or something like that. I mean, this is a 1.75. Talk about budget.
Bang for your buck.
Bang for your buck right here. And it's good.
Holy hell.
It's actually, you know,
It's like a Texas. That's almost Texas Mickey size. Holy crap! It makes you look tiny.
I was gonna say, we were talking about this before we start the stream. It's about the size of your forearm.
Yes.
Yeah.
We checked. It really is.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, for the price, you're not getting crap whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve A for 35 or so. So I mean, $35 for 1.75 is like the bargainiest of bargains there is. Say that 5 times fast.
You are not going to find a 2.6 of Scotch for under $20 anywhere.
No.
Not for single malt.
Yeah.
Especially with an age statement.
Steve A also
is that blended? Oh, that's blended Scotch. Sorry.
Steve A says they sell it in just this one size. So that's what you get. And this, I mean, if you have this and you're drinking on this as a daily sipper, with, you know, some other daily sippers, it's going to last you a little while for $35. So if you can get Kirkland brand, unfortunately we can't in Texas. Our Costco's do sell, they do have a liquor store attached to it, but we don't have Kirkland brand in them. So if you have a Costco sells Kirkland, get this baby.
I'm really curious why your Costco's don't carry Kirkland brand.
Don't know.
All right.
William might know the answer to that question, but I don't know.
Is it a Texas state thing, or
It might be a Texas laws thing.
Now I'm really curious if mine does. I'll have to find out.
Yeah, I mean, hell, 1.75.
Right, I'll have to invest. Something else we were talking about earlier is like, I wish there were more minis of scotches. Like you can find minis of bourbons, Irish, but like that'd be a great way to find out, oh, do I like this insanely expensive like single malt thing, instead of being like, okay, I dropped $160 only to find out I hate peat or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's the unfortunate thing is that you can't get as many of those in the Scotch. Like you said, they do have, you know, a variety of bourbon and Irish, but a lot of time I got to pet a dog today. She smelled like corn chips. Awesome, Ed.
I knew before I looked down, I was like, that's definitely Ed. Every time he comes home, he tells me about the dogs he saw.
But you know, and a lot of the ones that you find in the liquor store and those small bottles aren't necessarily the best bourbons out there or Irishes out there, but there are some decent ones. And for them to not have as much Scotch is it's kind of sad because, again, Scotch is more expensive just in general due to getting it here.
Right.
And you know, for somebody to go out and buy a bottle for $60 and then be disappointed, you know, how
it's infuriating.
A lot of people are going to be like, okay, I'm going to go try and buy another $60 bottle and see if I like it.
Right.
So,
or they just like write off Scotch completely. They're like, okay, it must all taste like this. I've wasted my money. I'll never try it again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. And you know, that was me for a while with peat. I didn't like peat, and I was just like, all Scotches must taste like that, so I must not like any Scotch at all. And then, you know, I met Matt, and I got to taste a whole bunch of stuff. And so, and a lot of that was, you know, starting down at the Bastard Ball the first year. I got to taste a whole bunch of stuff and learned that, no, there are several Scotches out there that I thoroughly enjoy. Right. So...
Actually, I'm really lucky because one of my local stores does an annual whiskey advent calendar. And so, and everything that they get for their advent calendar, like they work with the reps and they package it themselves. So everything comes in, you know, containers directly from the distillery, right?
Very nice.
And so if they don't sell out the calendar, quite often they end up with
Ripping
extra
them apart.
minis.
Yeah.
So we have a ton of Ardbeg Anoa. I've had Ardbeg Oogie as well in a mini because they had it in a mini.
You just
Glenellicky 10 and 12. So I mean, if go around, find maybe some of those niche shops that have a really good whiskey selection, and you might get lucky. Like
right.
Or like we actually, they actually just did, because our local laws around repackaging and doing tastings right now are kind of shitty. They had a bunch of leftover That Boutique Whiskey Company advent calendars. So they did home tasting, and we got 12 That Boutique Whiskey Company bottlings, and it was $80. You got 12 50 ml samples, 30, maybe these are only 30 ml. And you got to sit in on the tasting with the Boutique Company guys out of England.
That's awesome.
For 2 separate tastings. So that was like for $80. And some of these were like, we had a 21-year-old bourbon in the mix. Like, how you if you don't know your whiskey, you don't know. But 20-year-old bourbon is just.
Was it like beyond woody?
No, it was so good. It was
good.
So good.
Was it like
I could. Oh no, it was. I'm trying to think who. Do I have my tasting notes handy? And I think it might be in this one. My Tomatin, Kleinlich, 24-year-old bourbon that was probably an Elijah Craig that, of course, can't tell you for sure. It spent 12 years in Kentucky, 12 years in the UK, and it was cherries all day long. Heavy, rich, creamy, sweet cherry, dark cherry, vanilla cream. It was...
That sounds like heaven.
Good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh my goodness.
I'm surprised because usually the older bourbons like that, because they're sitting in those barrels for so long, they pull out a lot of those wood notes, and it's like overly oaky.
Yeah.
And
I feel like overly aged things can be like really hit or miss. Like even the barrel is like trash, and it's like, well, I've wasted my money here, or it's just like, this is the best thing that has ever happened.
I think part of the saving grace with that one is that it spent 12 years in the UK. So it started off 12 years in the US, and then it went to the UK. So it had a very different
climate change,
aging climate.
Yeah.
So they were able to get a little bit more mileage out of letting it sit. But like for $80, I don't know. You could go to like a whiskey bar, and you're probably going to pay $30 for a 1 ounce pour of Pappy Van Winkle 20-year, right?
Yep.
So,
and it 12 samples.
Yeah, we had 12 samples, all at least an ounce. I think there were a little bit more than an ounce pour out of those bottles, and. Yeah, a lot of them were in some decent age too, which it's kind of stuff that you wouldn't be able to afford it
otherwise.
Any other way. Yeah.
That's awesome. I wish they had more things like that around here, but you're in Canada, you can do other things that we can't do.
I know. We get some nice things that way.
They're having a pretty in-depth conversation about where you can purchase liquor in the chat. Based off that, Kirkland, I guess from what William's saying, because the liquor store for Costco is attached to a store, and Texas can't sell liquor in our stores, like we can't sell liquors at our Walmart
branded
or things like that. Has something to do with it. But
we're not shy about liquor up here, so
yeah, it sucks for Texas. We've got some pretty crappy laws, and our liquor stores are closed on Sunday, and you can't buy beer or wine until after 12. So whatever. But that has something to do with it.
Okay.
I guess. But if your stores sell it in the actual stores, check. I mean, that's a good price. And it's like I said, it's a decent Scotch.
I just got a Costco membership, and I was telling Eddie, like, I know he's gonna want to roam the aisles just to look at the liquor stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll get, the things we live on, but okay.
Well, and the thing with like ours is you got your Costco store, and it's like an extension that's added on to Costco, where you actually have to enter it from a door outside. It's not, you can't get in from Costco.
And you don't need a membership.
You don't need a membership to get into that one for ours.
Nope.
Okay.
But your Costco, since your stores actually sell liquor, it's probably just with everything else on the shelves in your Costco. Big pallets of fucking
insanely large bottles of vodka and such.
Yes, I'm that's one of the things I'm quite jealous about being in Texas and having the laws that we have is we don't have like clearance aisle of liquor at our Target or our Walmart. Yeah. So Steve A says the same thing for him.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the Costco liquor stores are set up in such a way that you do not need a membership to buy there.
Steve A said that there's no membership required for his either. If it's separate entrance, you don't need to have a membership. Yeah. But like Erika's, situation
inside, it might be a little bit different.
Physically in the store,
it's there, right next to like
diapers.
Yeah, things for children. They're like, "Do you have a child? Do you want to also drink? You do."
If you're buying diapers, you must want to buy whiskey. Yes,
they do kind of go together. I don't have kids, but I'm sure that they go together.
They definitely do. Yeah, definitely do. Yeah. William's over here stealing the Kirkland.
But and one of the nice things too with Costco, they I think are partnered with Diageo because they carry. They've got all of the, Lagavulin and Kleinlich and stuff like that. So most of those Diageo brands they're going to have, and some of those are the big heavy hitters. Your Open 14,
right?
Like I can get Laga 16 if I wanted it. I can pick it up for $80 at Costco. It's $120 just about anywhere else.
Dang. See, like I want discount prices from
in Texas. You get a lot of shopping.
Huh?
In Texas, you get a lot of fun stuff. Like we were talking earlier about, like you can go to local distilleries. Like up here, if you go to a local distillery, it's gonna be like basic corn from like one of our counties, and because it's cold, it doesn't age that well. Because of the sun you have, it's like you can pay $20 for something that's been aged like a minute, and it tastes like it's been aged for like years.
Yeah, we do. I will say we do have a lot of distilleries in Texas. That is one thing that I am really proud of down here. And even in the DFW area, they've grown up and there's, a handful around us that are within a 30, 40 minute drive to get to. And that right there, I mean, as far as getting to taste things, that helps a lot, especially if you want to be proud of your state and what they produce. I'm not Texan, but I still love Texas whiskey. So, I don't think Connecticut has a distillery. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe one.
They probably do.
Every state has at least one.
They have a really good whiskey store.
I don't know. You can fit Connecticut into Texas, so I don't.
How many times you can fit everything into Texas?
I know. They do have a really good liquor store, and I hope that one day soon we'll be able to make a trip up there and visit Irene.
She's awesome. She's good people.
I haven't actually met her in person, but talked to her some on Facebook. But I still have family up in Massachusetts, so we'll be up there at some point in time. Right. And unlike Texas, I can get from Massachusetts to Connecticut in like 45 minutes. So You can't get out of Texas in 45 minutes. So no matter which way you go.
I don't think you can get out of Alberta in 45 minutes either.
But that is one thing that I do enjoy about being in Texas. We may have some pretty crappy liquor laws, but we do have a lot of awesome distilleries around. So,
and I think you guys get way more experimental with stuff, which is really fun.
We've got a lot of craft going on.
Yeah.
You know, Iron Root up there, they've just got so much stuff going on, and it's just amazing. Speaking of Iron Root, I'm using their glass.
Very nice.
But
Nice. Actually, that kind of leads me into another question, which I hadn't prepared anybody for. But I mean, we're all drinking from Glencairn's, and you've got a nice little Iron Root one. But I pulled out a few things that I have because Glassware changes your whiskey experience.
Mm-hmm.
And Glencairn's, they can feel like an investment because it's like $15. I don't know about you guys, but it's about $15 for a Glencairn here.
really,
Now, yeah,
even
the
off
first
of
one,
Amazon?
the very first Glencairn I got, I was talking with a friend at a liquor store, at my actual, like, we have an actual whiskey store, World of Whiskey, and she's like, I was talking about the Glencairn, and she's like, oops, this one fell on the floor and broke. Too bad. And she wraps it up and sticks it in my bag for me. I'm like, I love you. Thank you. But we can't all be that fortunate, right? And so a lot of people will have rocks glasses around. Some of them you might have gotten for free. They got branded stuff all over them, right? Which is fine.
OMG.
But it doesn't really do a whole lot for being able to
get the full
To know
to get much from it. Yeah. But I got this one. I don't even know. It was like a liquor store giveaway add-on to something. And so for the longest time, this was my go-to for spirits, right? Because it's got a little bit of a lip. It kind of, bulbs out a little, and it was free. I can't even remember where it came from exactly, but it's really good. It's not super tulip shaped, but it's got a little bit of tulip shape. Then, I've also got like little shot glasses. And the nice thing with shot glasses, even though they generally have a straight up size, is that they are small enough at the top that you can
nose.
You can nose a little bit better out of a shot glass than you can out of a rocks glass. And really, if you're tasting, you only need to pour half an ounce. So this is my go to a barbecue glass. If I'm going to somebody's backyard for a backyard fire or a barbecue or something, I take a mini bottle and my little glass, because I can like fill this up 3 times,
Right.
only halfway, and I still feel like I'm having a decent experience of the whiskey. And then my third one was, I actually got really lucky, and these ones, somebody had them at the office.
I like the little thumb.
Yeah, so what that actually
You got a finger hole.
I got a finger hole. It's a girl glass. But really, like, it is actually, I'm like, hey, I know what that's for. It is actually Peugeot, and this one I don't think is a Peugeot brand. It's a different branded one, but Peugeot actually made ones like this, that they have a chilled base that you can get this base that you throw in the freezer, and you can set this on it, and the divot in the middle forces the whiskey to stay around the outside so that it funnels those aromas up.
Oh, nice.
And so I just, we were clearing out a bunch of stuff at the office, so I snagged 2 of these ones for free. So going to it, you can find things like this at thrift stores. So in terms of your glassware, that's not, you get free stuff at liquor stores. You can find cheap stuff at thrift shops.
I've seen people actually find the normal size Glencairns at liquor stores.
Yeah.
We have our normal size Glencairns, and all of ours have come from somewhere or another. This one's from Balcones. But on the norm, like when we're doing our live streams and stuff, I like to use the mini because I can go through a lot more samples in a smaller glass. I don't put as much in. I don't feel obligated to put as much in. Yeah. But this is pretty much what we live by in the house. We have these on hand. It's not necessarily a shot glass, but it's kind of like a shot glass. This is what they gave us at the Bastard's Ball.
I definitely have that also.
Right. The first year. This is what they gave us. And they gave us these. Did they give these to us or did we buy them? I think we bought them. They had these for sale at the Bastard's Ball this year. But they gave us these and they worked just fine because, again, you can get your nose in there and, you know, have yourself a little pour. Yeah. But we were actually given to, as a sample kind of to review, which we haven't really gotten into yet. William's been drinking out of them. I'm not a big glass kind of drinker, but it's, I don't know if you can see in there.
Oh.
So I guess it's meant to kind of like help the you know, notes go up the side. Yeah, William's using it tonight. But for me, when I drink, when I'm not actually doing a live stream or recording videos and I just drink because I feel like having a drink, this makes me feel like I got to fill it up more than I want to. And when I'm drinking, I want to have a couple different pours throughout the night, not just one pour. So this is a little bit much for me. It is a really cool glass, Donald. It really is. And we'll do a review on it because they asked us to. But it's just a little much for me. So I stick to my Glencairns for the most part.
Something that you can do with a rocks glass, which is kind of a cool thing if you like to drink it on the rocks, or if you are especially if you're in a hot climate, right? Is you put it in the freezer, like fill it up with water halfway and stick it in the freezer on its side so that it freezes on an angle. And then when you pour your pour in, it's only going to fill half of the cup for one thing, and it's going to give it a really good surface area on the rock. We found something, and William's coming in from the garage. I think he's going to bring it to me. He is, as a matter of fact, going to bring it to me.
How handy.
Little whiskey fairy. So we found this. Don't go far because I want you to put it back. It's cold. We found this at Target. Actually, I think it was on the clearance rack. So you actually have this silicone, and you put this in, and you fill it up at the top, and it only freezes half the glass like that. So same concept. You just don't have to try and balance it in your freezer. Keep it from falling over. But they do make them. That's fracking cold. For that very reason. And it's, a thick piece of ice that won't melt quickly, won't water down your whiskey quickly. Yeah. And only one side gets touched with the ice, by the ice. So it's actually a pretty cool little concept to do.
Yeah. I was talking the clearance aisles of like Target and stuff. That's a good place for the ice. But also I think a lot of liquor stores, they do those overstock sales generally during summer. That's a good place to find like bulk like that. And they're just like, I'm trying to get rid of these. Please take them. Right. I agree. Other types of weird glassware that might like make a difference in your whiskey drinking experience. Yeah.
So something else. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. What are you drinking?
I'm moving on to one that's it's a staple in my house, and yet I'm out of it right now because William finished off the bottle. And the Rona, we kind of make as few trips as possible. But I've got the Old Grandad 114. It's a $25 bottle around here, $26, something like that. And it is just a solid whiskey. It's 114 proof. I mean, for $26, how can you go wrong for that?
Yeah. Same thing with Bottle and Bond, right? Like the I mentioned cast strength, but those high proof doesn't have to be cast strength.
Yeah, there's a lot of bottled and bonds out there that are actually on the lower end of the budget spectrum that are really decent. Yeah. So, I mean, this one, like I said, 114, and I like my high proof. So if I can get a high proof that's good on a budget, you got me all day.
I think the fun thing about high proof on a budget is like we were saying earlier is like depending on how much water you add, it can be like having, 6 or 7 different whiskeys in a single bottle. Like you can take it at face value. It's like, okay, that's one. Add just a little bit of water. It's like, oh, this is a completely new drink now.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And this has a lot going on in the glass for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cinnamon forward, and it's got that nice punch at the end. And if you like high proof and you're not, able to go and purchase a barrel strength, cask strength whiskey at the $50-$60 price range, this is a good replacement or stand-in for that. I like it a lot. Like I said, it's a staple in our house. William's got to go to the liquor store soon. So, or I need to have some whiskey delivered. What you got?
I just poured is my Bareface, and this is the standard Bareface, and it goes for around 35 Canadian. So I mean, in terms of your Canadian whiskeys, this is costing you about the same as a Crown Royal, and holy crap, by comparison, completely different, right? Like this is got so much more. It's definitely got an oakier, it's got more of a char. It's triple aged, so it's triple oak. It's been aged in 3 different casks, 7 years age statement. Like, and it's got a bit of a punch to it. Like it's only 42.5%, but it doesn't feel watered down. Like so much that's at 40%, it just feels thin. Even if you chill it or like.
When you come from, somebody like us that like the higher proofs, and then you go down to something that's in the 40s, it is kind of a little bit almost like a kick in the face when, like, I've got this 114. Yeah. I probably should have waited until I finished these other 2 that I have here. This one's pretty good. But, you don't want to go from, a high proof down to a 40 if high proof's where you're at. But that's, I get they taste thin.
They do. And I mean, it is definitely a thinner texture, but overall it's still got a really good flavor profile to it. And the other thing that I would say is that Bareface is sourcing. And that's something else that you can typically find in more of the budget realm, is that they might be sourcing from somewhere else. So they haven't had to go to the expense of setting up a distillery, waiting around for 3 or 4 years for things to age out, because in Canada, minimum 3-year age statement. Mm-hmm. There are ways for them to go and do this. So they have enough of a budget behind them that they can source in a quantity that allows them to produce something that is really unique in the Canadian market and still keep it under a certain amount, because so much stuff that's in the craft, it's $70 to $100 a bottle, and it might only be a 3-year thing, and it's local, and you want to support them, but that's a lot. Like that's a lot to take on faith, right?
Right. Yeah. What are you drinking now, Erika? What do you got going on?
I was closing the night with Old Elk, and they're another they're Colorado. I keep turning it the wrong way, but
StreamYard is jacked up. It's backwards.
I know. And I know that, but I always forget. But yeah, that's a $45 bottle. And I think they also do a lot of sourcing. And I think that's another one where it's like, because they're just like, okay, we have fewer overhead costs. Here's what it is. Take it, enjoy it, or don't. And I'm like, yeah, for $45, I will. I'll take it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
They are Colorado based, and the first time we had them was actually we went to a whiskey festival in Chicago, and I think that's another way you can do budget whiskey. Like we got those tickets for $30, and there were so many vendors, so you get to try so many.
Yep.
Things. Yeah,
go to the festivals anytime you can get to a festival.
Yeah, we won't see any of those for a while, but
no, unfortunately not.
Yeah, I mean, I love how all of our budget tips are like, when Rona's over, go do this thing.
It's safe again when they start doing all the fun stuff again.
Yeah.
But until then, I mean, you can try some of these things that we're suggesting here.
Right.
And even the other thing that you you can do is check out channels, because
Yeah.
I mean, I know we've done several bottom shelf type of videos. I know Ed's done them too. You and Ed. I mean,
him mainly. He likes to drink the bad stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's
not that all bottom shelf stuff is bad. He just
all of it's bad, right? There is some bad stuff out there.
Yeah.
But
check out our channel to find it out.
There you go.
I have a bottle of black velvet around here somewhere that I bought because a friend was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I know this guy who works for this distillery in Lethbridge, and they apparently make like really good stuff according to him. So you should like check it out." And I'm like, never heard of this stuff, and it's because it's like in the deepest, darkest corner of the bottom shelf for a reason.
Covered with dust.
Yeah, so I bet I own a bottle.
Yeah,
everyone does, because they don't sell small bottles because they know they're going to swindle you out of your money with that.
All of our bad stuff either ends up mixed into a blend of something else, like William will put it with some peated scotch or something to cover it up, or it ends up in, I don't know, you can kind of see it. There's a decanter right.
Oh, yeah, just a mirror
next to the castle. That's a funky infinity bottle, so all the funky shit goes in there. And William drinks that. I don't touch that because he puts peat in there. I don't touch that. But that's where all the crap goes. That he actually dumped. It was like 5 or 6 blind tasting bottles that just had A, B, C, and D on them. We didn't know what they were because they got meshed in with the rest of the stuff. Who knows what that's going to taste like? But there's always something to do with a bottle that you get that is not the best.
Yeah.
So throw it into a punch, like take it to a party and forget to take it home.
There you go.
Yes. So housewarming party. Housewarming. Oh, hey! Go to your local college campus and just forget it somewhere. Those kids will be happy to have free liquor. I am not advocating, the intoxication of minors or anything like that. But up here, legal age is 18, so it's a little different.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. William said it's okay, not good, but okay.
Yeah.
So because I got it out and I just gotta say it, I poured some fighting cock, and I don't think you can have ladies' night without talking a little bit about cock.
We got to talk about cock. That's just all right.
If you can get your hands on this, it's actually.
And Donald's gonna say goodbye because we're talking about cocks now. So.
There are a lot of cheap.
All of the men sign off.
Nah, they hear it all the time in our live streams for sure. Good night, Donald. Thanks for hanging out.
Good night, Don. Yes, thanks.
It's always fun when you're around.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get you a blue wrench.
I'm gonna pull some chicken cock into my life since
chicken cock. There we go.
I don't have cock. I don't have. Hey, I literally have no cock. I've got a moose.
There we go. I like that he's in a suit jacket. Very fancy.
Yes, this is from one of our local distilleries. So this is their Canadian blend. So most of their stuff that they put out are malts, and they've done a couple of rye releases, as well as they have their whole young spirits line with gins and such. But this one they put out as a Canadian blended whiskey, Canadian style. And for $35. So, I mean, for a local craft distillery to be putting something out for $35 is actually...
That's pretty decent.
So, you guys can have your cock. I'm going to have my moose.
Well, I mean, isn't that a kind of a Canadian thing with something?
It might be.
Moose.
I don't know.
I don't know.
There's a joke.
We love our moose.
There's a joke in there somewhere. It'll come to me like at 12 o'clock at night tonight. I'll be like, oh yeah.
You guys at 3 a.m. just like,
how many cocks can you fit on a moose? I don't know. Anyways.
I mean, depends on which type of cock you're talking about. You got chicken cock and you got a fighting cock, and cheers.
Compared to compared to the bare face, holy crap, that's so different.
Yeah, this is actually a really good pour. If you find, yeah, that's my husband.
Fighting cock. Yeah.
If you can find the Fighting Cock, it's actually a really good pour.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I think it was the chicken cock that we did the video, and we had it was one of the cocks. I think it was the chicken cock. William, correct me if I'm wrong. That we had the distiller on, and not a single joke was made. The whole 2-hour show, not a single joke was made.
Did you have to prepare beforehand? Just be like, okay, this is what we're not going to do.
No, actually, I mean, he was very informative. He had a lot of knowledge. He had a lot of background in the industry. But he said no. Which one was it? Answer me, damn it. You're just in the garage.
He's saying chicken cock. Chicken cock live stream, he's saying.
Is he? It's mine not.
Yeah. He was saying something about moose knuckles, and then he said chicken cock live stream. He was prepared to make jokes.
We were all prepared to make jokes. I mean, if you didn't see the Fighting Cock review video we did, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it if you want to laugh, because good God, that was like should have been the most inappropriate video that we've ever put out. With the cock jokes. I got up and had to walk away a couple times because I was laughing so hard. And like, I don't know if that part made it into the review, but I remember that day very clearly. Left and right cock jokes. And it was good times. But we did not make a single joke that night when we were talking with the distiller. He's got a lot of knowledge. It was really hard because he was talking about a lot of barrel and wood and, wood and to cock and to, I mean, there were so many setups. Yeah, Steve A. That was an absolute epic review. It really was. That was a lot of fun. But there were so many setups in that live stream and not a single one. Not a single one.
Applause.
So I'm kind of proud of us. And I mean, I've got the mind of a 15-year-old boy when it comes to things like that. So it's just
I swear there needs to be like a Rotgut review, like just based on some of the stuff. Like I gotta like tip my hat to you guys and some of those, everything you need to know to pretend to like Canadian whiskey.
Those were epic.
Those are fucking awesome. So I feel like there needs to be like an Ed Cock, like just everything that he does throughout the entire. It's just all of these cock whiskey things.
I think we did have a stream that was just like all dick jokes,
right?
Let's see if I can find. He probably knows offhand, but there was definitely one.
Well, he's not listening, so he can't.
Well, I had to get up to let him in the door so he could pop up at any point.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
He's confirming we did have a dick joke stream.
Hi, Ed.
Hi. He says hi.
Hi.
Good old dick joke.
Yeah.
Yes. Whiskey and dicks.
Well,
yeah, but that's not why we're here. We're here for whiskey and lipstick, so
Yeah.
The rest just, kind of comes along naturally.
Whiskey pairs well with everything. Lipstick, dicks.
It really does.
It really does.
Yeah.
So I've only got one more out here that I pulled out.
All right.
What you got?
It is Jim Beam.
Oh, which one?
This says 1970 Jim Beam.
Okay.
That William pulled out and found for me. So I'm going to pour a little bit.
Is that the newer one or?
I have no idea. I think this says,
This is a sample bottle?
I think this says 12 year, maybe. It's Matt's handwriting. But, Jim Beam, they make some pretty solid things.
They do.
We did a best of, it was a 1970s bottle. Is what William says. They've got a lot of pretty decent budget bourbons on the shelf. We did a best of Jim Beam, I believe, one night. We've done a lot of best ofs. of the budget bourbons and whatnot.
People know those deals.
Huh?
Letting the people know about the deals.
Seriously, and we do them on a blind, even as far as, you know, we may know the brand going in, but we don't know what's in each bottle. So we can, you know, truly be, okay, well, I like this one the most. And, you know, kind of makes it a little more fun that way.
Yeah.
But, another one that puts out a pretty good budget is, and I'm saying this, but Dickel, their newest release, is actually really good. So
their rye, like the Dickel rye, is just like full on. If you want intense, holy crap!
I am not a rye person.
It'll punch you in the face.
I'm not either. I am not either at all. I don't. So
I am a bit, but
so there are some pretty decent ryes out there, as long as for me they're on the minty side, not the pickle side. I don't like the pickle. I like pickle, but I don't like it in my drink. So I'm with you kind of on that, but I have found a couple that actually are pretty decent. Balcones rye, that's pure chocolate. It is.
It's coffee and espresso and
milk, chocolate, and just it's not your typical rye. So I like that one, you know. So
yeah, like the Dickel. Chocolate. I mean, like the Dickel rye is definitely like I enjoy a good rye, and the Dickel rye punches you in the face. Like it is an intense one. Yeah. But I mean, for a budget, if you like that dill pickle, like everything heavy and bready and knock you out kind of thing, it's definitely gonna do that.
Well, and I like we did a Sagamore pick. I liked the pick that we did. It wasn't overly on the pickly side at all. I liked that one. Yeah. But again, I'm very picky with my ryes, and we've kind of found the older it is, the more that we like it, because William's the same. The more it leans into the minty notes, the black pepper dings, as opposed to that pickle for days, that dill. And even one of our friends was over, and he's not really into whiskey, but William was like, smell this. What do you smell? And it was a rye. And he picked out like a mustard seed.
Oh.
So think about that next time you smell a rye that leads toward the pickle side.
Yeah.
Because it did kind of stick out with that too. So William's wondering if Ed's gonna put on some lipstick and join the stream.
I'll try to keep him out. But I was gonna say, like, I think if you do like punch in the face ryes, it's so easy to find that on a budget, because I think so many younger ryes get that like pickle note, and if like that's what you love, you can find that for real cheap. But I hate that, so I'd have to pay more to find a rye I like.
Right, and Ed likes the ryes, doesn't he?
He loves them, especially these really young ones.
Matt loves rye, all of them. It doesn't matter. It could have been in a barrel for 3 days and
for
he's
2
all over.
seconds, and
you know, he just loves them, and it's just not our not
my brand.
I'm kind of halfway in between. Like I like my heavy ryes, but I don't know. There are some rye is definitely one of those ones that it tends to be harsher just across the board, right? Like you can get. I remember we actually had Dad's hat come at Somme 2, and so we got to sit with the distiller and do this whole lineup tasting, and like they are putting out things at 40 and 43% that will like burn you. Like they are sharp. They will. This is a rye that will cut you. Like my goodness, which I like. I like a punchy, aggressive spirit. And it's not like it was coming off as being acetone or anything like that. It was just really punchy, aggressive rye at a fairly low proof. And I mean, I don't know what they retail for down in the US. I think they're a little bit more here because they are still pretty niche. But like, if rye is one of those ones that you can get, like, if you like that punch, if you want to, drink something and know that you are like getting some, which is why I always went to spirits. I'm like, fuck the beer, fuck the wine. Give me something that like lets me know I'm drinking it, right? Rye is one of those ones that will do that for you on a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is if you find yourself liking rye in general, which there are a lot of people out there that like rye. But then there's a lot of people like, Erika and I that are just, it's
Not
just
for me.
not our thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Yeah, William just pointed out there's such a huge difference between rye varietals as well. Depending on where you get in your rye, what type of rye is it?
Right.
Depending on what it will produce in the bottle. So after, and you've got your choice of like some of the finished ryes. I like some of the finished ryes. Sagamore puts out their port finish, and I liked that one.
Angel's Envy had that Caribbean finished rye, and I love that.
That's waffles and syrup in a bottle to me. Is the Angel Envy rye.
Yeah.
And
It
again,
is
not your typical rye at all. So, but it's still good. For me, I mean, like I said, as long as it's not pickle, cool with it. I like that spearmint that I get from rye sometimes.
And that was kind of like one of the weird things with the Alberta Premium. So one of the things that they specifically did with the Alberta Premium brand versus the Alberta Springs brand is the Alberta Premium is 100% rye grain.
Okay.
Not an ounce of pickle in it. It tastes like straight up caramel.
That's
like
crazy.
this is it is they have and that goes down to part of their distillation and part of their casking with it is that they have specifically gone for a non-rye profile with the standard Alberta Premium. The cask strength, it definitely picks up those pickle flavors.
That's crazy.
Which is it still builds on it, but you have that. It's like a really heavy molasses rye bread. The cask strength one. Oh my goodness.
That's crazy how the difference in that from same distiller, just
And the Alberta Springs one isn't 100% rye, but they distill it and barrel it to get the rye pickle note into it. So it might actually have a percentage of corn in there or something else, but
right. You don't find very many
so
100% ryes out there, like just without anything else in it. No malt, no barley. I mean, and no corn. Just
it's a harsh spirit.
Yeah,
not a harsh spirit, a harsh grain to like be like, this is all we're giving you.
Well, and I've heard from distillers that it's hard to work with in general. So,
there's something about the husk or something, or the lack thereof. It's very finicky.
Yeah. So, well, we're going on 9:30. I don't know if you ladies want to
I think
or wrap it up.
We can maybe get close to wrapping up. There was one last question that I kind of had put out there to everybody to maybe just to talk about, and this was a bit of a callback to Erika's recent experience with the Malort.
Oh God!
Is that something that you may experience as a newcomer to whiskey? Is you're going to get those people who are, I don't want to say malicious, but they're malicious.
They're evil. Yeah.
They want to push.
There is something about, exactly. Like there are the people who are out there who have been enthusiasts, and you're going to meet them. They're going to be your friends, and they're going to be like when we tell you to go out and meet people who like whiskey, you're going to end up finding some of these people who they're your friends, and they're doing it because they just want to bust your balls.
They're like Ed.
You're
not
going to meet people like Ed.
Yeah.
Yes, because their entire thing is going to be that they're going to hand you something. And this is something even, it's too bad Sam couldn't be with us tonight, because like the I Whiskey She Wines channel, their entire thing was he handed her Lefroy and was like, here, drink this on camera. This is whiskey,
Lefroy.
drink it. So you're going to get those people who are going to hand you things when you're early on, and just like they're totally busting your chops, and they're going to hand you something that is really almost unpalatable if you are not used to drinking whiskey. So I know I have a story. I know Erika just recently got, bullied into everybody paid, but I paid $10 Canadian. So like I put in like 25 cents worth of money towards this for the Malort. But I just want to share some of those experiences that we're getting close to the end. So
I just want to throw in, I'm pouring my last pour, and it's not budget, but it's my birthday's on Friday, so whatever. We got a hold of the new release, the 2020 release of Stag Junior. So I'm going to go ahead and close the night with this tonight while we talk about
terrible choices.
Terrible choices. I'm going to have a really good choice. 130.2 in my glass. So go ahead with your Malort story, because I kind of have one that we experience as well.
So, and I have an Amroot story, so.
Yeah. Malort's bad.
Malort.
It's so horrible. It's so bad. That wasn't even my first time having it. I feel like I tried to black out the first time I had it. Ed bought it, and he very much the same thing. He was just like, taste this. And this was when I was early on, so I was like, I don't need to smell it. I trust him. So I just like took it back, and I literally just like spat it back up. I was like, no.
Don't trust him.
No.
That's definitely your lure right there. Don't trust him.
Yeah.
And then people paid.
Yeah, I set a price, and that was my mistake. I was like, we'll never raise, I think $500 is what we said. I was like, we won't get that in one night. And
got it in 20 minutes.
It happened.
Yeah.
There's some sadistic people out there.
And I had to drink a pour of Malort. It was like, talking about it makes me want to throw up. But
it just makes my like that beer face that you get like that. Yeah. So
fits.
Our experience with Malort, because I actually didn't try Malort until this year when Matt made us review it for the liqueur series that we do on Saturdays. We've been going over to Matt's house for a couple years now, who does tastings at the house. And there's one person, Tuttle, who walks around with the bottle of Malort. And he'll walk up to you, and if you're new, especially, hey, I've got something that you need to try. It's kind of like an initiation to get in the house and, be part of the clan and whatnot. Have you ever tried Malort? And he will talk you into at least smelling it. And there's been several people, somebody that I know and love very much, that have tried it multiple times under the influence of Tuttle, William. But every single time he'd come at me with a glass with something in it. Of course I'm going to smell it.
Yeah.
3 times. William tried it 3 times. Of course I'm going to smell it. And it smells like lemon pledge. Like the spray. Like you walk through the spray after you spray it, and you like get a mouthful of just the aerosol. It's horrible. And
also still rotten fruit somehow. It's like artificial fruits and rotten fruit.
I made it like 2.5 years before I was forced to try it for a review. And man, I was doing so good. William fell for it 3 times. One of the times he was drunk. I might have disowned him temporarily that night because it was twice in one night. I'm like, how? And then our lovely followers, one decided to send us a bottle of Malort, and then proceeded to pay to get us to drink it as well. But they like to do that to us. They like to pay to get me to drink peat on our live stream sometimes. So yeah, that's one of mine. But the other is, and this is kind of further on in my whiskey journey. This was actually last year at the basketball. Brad and Vito were trying. What?
Oh, any story that starts with Brad and Vito. I'm like, all right, this is.
They were trying to get me to drink the sheep shit stuff.
Whatchamacallit? Yeah, the dunk. Yeah. Floki.
That's what it's called. I had a brain fart there for a second. I knew it was sheep shit. They were. Brad had it in his head that he was going to get me to drink it. If he found a peated whiskey that I enjoyed, I had to drink the Floki, and he has yet to find that. Nobody has found that. But Vito came up to me in the vault, because they have it in the vault, and tried to hand me a glass. And of course, I'm a whiskey person. I'm a whiskey sommelier. I do reviews. The first thing I do, even a glass of water, folks. Hell no. I'm not even going to try that, Vito. Get up on it here. I'm not going to fall for it. So those are my two main stories that people have tried to get me to fall for something, and one where Matt actually made me drink. But then it's peat. People try and give me peat all the time. So,
have you ever had like a peated Scotch aged in bourbon barrels?
Huh?
Okay, that was my hope. All right, never mind.
Yeah, I've had them every single which way. That, I mean, Matt's got everything under the sun. Even some of the like peated bourbons, still the closest thing that I will get to as far as, oh great, Matt just joined and he said, don't worry, we'll be reviewing that at some point. Another thing I will be forced to drink. Although they have done several reviews where I have up and walked away after smelling it. Most of them are Ardbeg. But I'll go sit on the couch while they finish up. He got me all sidetracked what I was saying. Oh, the peated bourbons. The closest thing that I have come to find that I like that is peated is a couple of the Highland Parks, because it's a different kind of peat. I don't like the medicinal Band-Aid burning rubber.
Okay.
Peat. I don't like that.
Fair enough.
That's
Yeah, Matt, we already talked about
yeah.
J. Riddle is the peated bourbon that I liked.
okay.
But it didn't present itself as the peat I don't like. It didn't really even present itself as peat to me. So I don't know that it was really all that peated, but it didn't present itself as peat to me. So, but as far as the peated Scotch,
And see, that was like early on. I ended up at like because we're in the mountains where I am. So we have a lot of people with Scottish and Irish heritage. Like we have a whole section of the city that is Springbank. We have a section of the city that is Highland Park. If you can't tell that we were settled by the Scots, then you just don't know. So we have Highland Games, like the Calgary Highland Games, the Canmore Highland Games. I think every little town in the area has a Highland Games. And so I got in to a Scotch tasting, and it was actually really interesting because I got to try a lot of different things, and most of it I just did not like. But I'm like, I'm going to try whiskeys because I was like, I'm into whiskey now. And that was one of my first experiences. And then probably just a few months later, one of the stores in town did a Whiskey Fridays. They always had a whiskey rep in the store doing pours. And I walked in, and my friend who works in the whiskey store bounced up. She's the one who gave me the Glencairn. She's like, here, you got to try this. It's awesome. It's so great. I'm like, okay, cool, sure. And she hands it to me. And I drank it. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. She knows that I don't like peated whiskey. But she gave it to me anyways. And it was the Amrut peated cask strength. And she's like, which I'm like, holy crap. Like, if you haven't had Amrut is like, they are based in India. They are deliberately doing Scottish style distillation. And they are making some really cool stuff. But because of the Indian heat and climate, they get a lot of intensity in a very short period of time. It knocked me, like, I'm like, holy crap. Like, this like just about knocked me over. Now, to be fair, I kind of like that stuff now. Now. But at the time, it was such a, like, I'm like, she's like, isn't it great? I'm like, it's peated. As I handed it back to her.
It's disgusting.
You've got a great comment that just says, real friends get their friends to enjoy peat. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's Matt.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't 100% agree with that there, Matt, because we're real friends. And I don't enjoy peat.
You'll like peat one day.
To be fair, I
tried for 3 years and it hasn't happened yet.
You know, it was an Amrut, though, that was my turning point with peat. And they did a peated port pipe. So it wasn't that the malt was peated, but they aged it in a barrel that had held peat, I think. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it was a Western Canada exclusive, and I tried that. And at first I didn't really think too much of it. And then I added just a little bit of Perrier to it. Like a capful, not even a capful. So Scotch and soda, it's a thing for a reason, right? So you get that little bit of a sparkle. And oh my goodness, it was like toasted strawberries dancing on my tongue. It was, I finally went out and bought a bottle because I was like, okay, I can see it. And that was my turning point with peat. The next big milestone with peat was when I got to try Octomore, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, hey, I taste something other than burning. I'm like, I'm getting bacon and chili and chocolate and coffee. It's not just stuff on fire.
They're ganging up on me. Yeah, and I just, I try when I smell it. I do honestly, when we review them, I do honestly give it an honest try to get past that. But I just have not been able to. It's not for lack of trying. It's just not my thing. I enjoy my unpeated scotches, and I'm okay with that.
That's fair.
But yes, they are ganging up on me. They're talking about something of a peat month or peat year, and
year of peat. I think Steve A is saying so. 2021.
Like, if you don't want me in the videos when we do the reviews, then you can do peat whatever, but I
find after 3 or 4 peated whiskeys, you just don't even taste the peat anymore.
The only time that I can say that I actually drank a peated whiskey and I didn't make a disgusting face was year 1 Bastard's Ball, night 1 La Quinta. I had so much whiskey that I had palate fatigue, and what was it that he gave? I think it was Peat Week that Matt poured in my glass, and I didn't know what he was pouring. And I drank that shit, and I moved on. I didn't it didn't faze me none. But I had so much palate fatigue, and I had so much whiskey before that. I think that's the only time. Who remembers
night 1 of
the first year? I do.
Sommelier level 1. First night in the vault, we're drinking stuff, and I had some Octomore 7.3 in my glass, and I was like, oh, this is so good. Everybody else, there was a whole group that were drinking. Brad had bought Ardbeg 20 something, I think it was. And so there were a bunch of them that were drinking that, and Daniel had that in his glass, and he let me take a sip. And this is after I'm drinking, or as I'm drinking the Octomore 7.3. The Ardbeg just tasted like pure candy. Like there was 0 peat in the Ardbeg 20-something. And then on Friday, we went back for the Wax Rex episode.
Yeah.
And we were drinking the Ardbeg 20-something. I'm like, holy crap, this is actually pretty peaty.
I remember
my Ardbeg faulted.
I remember Wax Rex. It was
awesome.
That was something else completely. You need a lot of whiskey
crazy.
for that. I mean, even in Psalm 1 class, anytime there was peat in the glass, I smell it, but it was all about, picking out where they're from at that point in level 1. So I could smell it and that's Scotch, whatever. I never drank them. They all went into the dump glass. But
all that wasted sweet peat.
No, it wasn't wasted. It all got put into Blendageddon.
Yeah. Well, see, my next step off of that Psalm 1. So after a night we had the Balcones crew that came down and were drinking with us. And so I was drinking with Daniel and Balcones and Brad until like 2 a.m. I was pretty lit.
Mm-hmm.
First tasting on day 2. First trio. Lefroy.
Yeah.
10. 8 a.m. Hungover. I will smell death.
It'll smoke the hangover out of you.
I will say that is one of the best things about Psalm class is that you can drink all night and just stumble down to your room.
Yeah. I think I showed up 5 minutes late, but at least I wasn't the last one there. And still in that first taste, I'm like holding my head up with my hand.
So glad I can
being called upon to describe what it is I'm smelling. I'm like
vomit.
Did I smell a tire fire?
Yes.
I love that.
No.
I love Lefroy.
Oh goodness.
No.
I mean I don't mind Lefroy now, but at the time I was still pretty new.
Yeah.
And Lefroy when you're hungover, holy fuck. 8 a.m.
Open you up. Wakes you
8
right
in the
up.
morning.
That's something.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
To each their own, I guess.
Okay, Daniel, I'll tell you where you can stick this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right where you can stick it, sir. Well, I think that's probably
we're
pretty good spot to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Tonight. We're talking about telling people where they can stick stuff. William. That is true. Drinking a lot and staying sober is a lot of water and food.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely, I think that's a class all in its own. Hey, Dustin. Popped in at the end.
All this talk of Lefroy, maybe have to pour some.
There you go.
Brianna. Yeah, I was telling that story while drinking my Ardbeg Anoa. So
yeah, I'm sticking with my Stag Junior. So, but I think for whiskey tubers and Psalms and stuff, there definitely should be a class on drinking an exceptional amount and staying sober. Tips and tricks to get through while staying sober and able to give whatever information that you're needing to give.
Yeah.
Still being able to enjoy what you're talking about. So it's one reason why we have bacon. And we have a never-ending supply of water next to us at all times.
The Aqua H20, I recommend it to everyone.
Yes.
No.
Highly recommend high quality H2O. And, it just takes a lot of practice. Bacon, water, bacon. Yes. That's the formula.
I'm gonna eat some pasta after this. So
There you go. Carb it up.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I was going to have mac and cheese for supper, and then I was like, I'll have dumplings instead. But
Ooh.
we had pasta with some dinner and with our dinner, and that definitely helps. Carb it up.
Yeah.
Soak up that alcohol.
Get them carbs.
And I think it's a good note to close it up on, and hopefully we can get this together again here and not so long of a time in between. I mean, it was never meant to be like regular weekly or whatever thing, but
no, maybe once a month.
It'd be really nice to be able to get once a month, maybe. And Erika, definitely welcome to come hang out with us. It's been fun.
I love drinking.
I like drinking too, and
Me too.
I like drinking with other ladies that are interested in the same thing I am as far as the whiskey goes in general, because there's not it's growing as far as ladies enjoying whiskey.
Yeah.
But it's not growing fast enough in my opinion. It needs to grow faster.
Yeah.
Well, and part of it is just being present. Like, I don't think we need to make a big deal about it. It's like, oh, hey, it's a girls thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just being present, being visible, being the ones who are out here talking about it, right?
Right.
Representation matters. Yeah.
There's a handful.
It does.
There's a small handful of us on YouTube that are doing this regularly, but I don't think there's enough. So we will definitely try and plan something for December again. If even it's just getting on here and just chit chatting and drinking.
Yeah,
that's fine by me.
Yeah, Erika, anytime you want to join in, we would love to have you.
Up and down, just let me know.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So what else are you up to? I mean, we talked about Rotgut review because bottom shelf night, but what else do you do whiskey dumb style?
Pretty much I see what Ed brings into the apartment, and then I will drink it.
I drink what Ed brings into the apartment.
Yeah, this was a chat when we were like, oh, what are the price levels? Like, I don't know what things cost. I'm very lucky that way.
It's a 2-step program.
Yeah.
I see what's brought in. I drink what's brought in. It seems like a pretty good, routine to me.
I'm like, oh, did you get that for free? And I'm like, okay, that one was probably bad. But if he tells me he spent money on it, I'm like, okay, that's probably something
good.
We might need to have a little talk about that.
Yeah.
And remind the folks when you guys have your videos drop in your live streams normally.
Yes. So the Rotgut Review, she has videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a live stream on Thursday. So check us out or don't. Ed's odd, but he's fun.
Check him out.
Check him out.
He's weird.
Ed's fun.
But we like him.
Yeah.
Mostly.
And you can find us over on Whiskey Crusaders. We live stream on Monday night. We drop a video Tuesday, Thursday, and a special liqueur series on Saturdays. Theresa?
I am an Instagrammer or Instadrammer or whatever you want to call us these days. So Canadian whiskey. Oh, all right, where's the name?
That way.
Here.
You got
Canadian Whiskey Smith. I have Facebook. I have Instagram, but I'm doing everything through Instagram. So
And
that's me.
Matt is feeding me info here. We are having Rabbit Hole on our Monday stream this upcoming Monday with us.
What is Rabbit? Oh,
they're
bourbon, aren't they?
I believe so.
All right.
I'm just happy to know before Monday what it is.
It's a trap to get you to drink pee. I feel it.
I was saying the other night, there's a lot of times that I'll wake up in the morning on Monday morning at 6 in the morning to go to work, and I get an email from Matt, and that's when I find out what we're doing for Monday evening's live stream. So we're doing Rabbit Hole. Good to know.
There you go. And apparently Ed is adorable is what he is. So,
that's
this is what I get for feeding him a compliment.
Yes, Adriana, go check out Theresa over on Instagram. She is a level 3.
3.
Level 3.
I got my chain and my star in the box.
Yep, it's in the box. Level 3 whiskey sommelier. She's good, peeps. Definitely go check her out.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you just don't have to try too hard. It just happens.
Well, there you go.
Thank you.
Just don't get me drunk.
She's funny when she gets drunk. It's happened before on the stream with
I get messy
cocktails.
when I get yes, don't get me going with cocktails. It just gets messy.
Cocktails. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night. Don't forget to thank your veterans tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Cheers to them. Appreciate them. Don't forget to show it. Until next time, hopefully next month, we will be seeing you. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Sip, sip, hooray. Cheers.
Sip, sip, hooray. Oh, crap.